Alrighty guys, welcome to another video that I can't really classify. I talked a little bit about music and how that can affect our mindset and our vision of ourselves moving forward. And so I diluted a little bit to vision in that video. And today I want to talk a little bit about vision, discipline, and motivation, how they're all interconnected, and where discipline and motivation come from, I think. And I got a whiteboard this time. So you might be thinking, oh, Brendan's got a whiteboard. Sort of goes with the mad scientist hair vibe I got going on. And yeah, so let's get straight into it. So let's get straight into it. So you hear a lot of athletes, elite athletes, coaches talk about discipline, how you have to have it, how to develop it, and that's all well and good. There are definitely ways to develop discipline, and I think we should all do that in whatever area of life we have targeted to excel at. But where does discipline ultimately come from? And I think that is something that gets lost a lot of times. It gets buried and gets glossed over. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And to talk about where discipline comes from, we're going to talk about vision. And this vision is essentially your own vision for your life, where you want your life to go, what you want to do, the person that you want to be. So to sort of help explain this a little bit, I'm going to tell you a quick story about me. I would consider myself part of the 1% on the planet. And you might be, immediately think financially, but I'm talking about a different 1%. That 1% of people is the percentage of people that have a very clear dream or ambition at a very young age, and that gets cultivated and fed by people around them, and it's strong enough that it never goes away. I saw the Tour de France on TV when I was four and a half, and I was living in Oxford at the time with obviously with my family, and I saw the Tour de France on TV, and for me that was it. That was life changing. That was a life changing moment, because I saw that and said immediately, that's what I want to do. I want to race bikes for a living. That is the only thing that I want to do. I would consider myself one of the lucky few that has maintained their dream from a young age, had a dream at a young age, and maintained that dream from a young age. And that is what I would call vision. So my vision for myself originated at a very young age and has continued and only clarified as I've gotten older. So that's just a quick analogy about what vision is to me. I think people come to it at different points in their life. I don't think it matters at what point you come onto it in your life. I think that it only comes through a lot of introspection. I think it only comes when you truly know yourself. And obviously, I didn't know myself from a young age, but I still had that dream, and sort of everything else came around that. So if you're coming at it from the other side, I think a lot of introspection, knowing who you are, and realizing what you want. And then the next step is to write it down. And I had my vision and dream written down at quite a young age, and it's morphed and it's evolved, but the foundation of it has stayed the same, what I want to do and what I want to accomplish. And so that is the vision for my life. So how do motivation and discipline connect with vision? I want to talk about discipline first. And there are certainly ways of developing discipline, but I would argue that, and this is just my opinion, I would argue that you can only have a true long-term discipline if you have a vision first. If you have no vision, I would say that you have motivation. And I would make a distinction between a desire and a dream. A dream is something that you almost can't help but follow. You almost can't help but pursue. The other is, say you see somebody do something and you're inspired, A really good illustration of this is every January we've got a whole batch of New Year's resolutioners, and I absolutely love this sentiment. However, we have to be very clear about what a New Year's resolution is. It is not a dream. It is an intention. Okay? Two very different things. It is an intention to do something for 1 year. And how many times have you heard this? Oh, how's your New Year's resolution going? Oh, I mean, I got 6 months in, and then it just sort of started to come apart. I had the same thing happen. I got 3 months into my New Year's resolution, and it just came off the rails. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with having New Year's resolutions. I think it's an incredible thing, but we have to be very clear about the distinction here. Vision and intention. So now let's talk a little bit about discipline and motivation. And so you can see on this handy dandy chart, I gotta stand on this side maybe. Maybe you can see it. I might have to zoom in a little bit. This pink line here with the M fluctuates like this. And that is motivation. This blue line here, staying steady all the way through, is discipline. Both of these originate from vision. So for this analogy, let's just say we've got somebody with an intention and somebody with a vision, somebody with a dream, okay? Somebody with an intention is going to have no problem at the start having a lot of motivation, right? You see that all the time. People start something, they have a ton of enthusiasm, a ton of motivation to do something. We cannot complicate that, and we cannot confuse that with discipline. They are two very different things. Motivation is going to fluctuate naturally. It's going to go up and down and up and down. I've been racing bikes and training competitively for the last 12 years, and I can tell you from personal experience that motivation goes all over the shop. It's goes haywire. Some days it's great. Some days it's very low. Some months it's great. Some months it's very low. Some years it's pretty consistently high. Some years it's pretty consistently low. It fluctuates massively day to day, month to month, year to year. So how do we use motivation and how do we use discipline? Because that's sort of the point of this video. It's all very well to sort of classify things, but how do we use these and identify them to our advantage, creating the optimal circumstances for high level performance in whatever area of life you've chosen to excel? So first step, identify your vision, right? Whatever vision that is. Maybe it's, in my case, I'll use myself as an example. Being a professional cyclist, being an elite cyclist, that is my vision. All right. Obviously, I have other visions in my life, but this is the main one that we're going to talk about today. So, I've got my vision. Discipline then comes from your vision, right? You have this vision, you identify where you are now, and once you have your vision, you can identify the steps that you need to take to get to your vision from your starting point. And those steps will most likely change along the way. You will encounter obstacles that you have to adapt and overcome. But having that vision first is absolutely essential. Once you have your vision and once you've identified your goal, right? Vision and goal, same, very similar things. Then you can have discipline. You will have motivation, but motivation is going to fluctuate all over the map, like we just talked about. So, how do we use this? How do we use these? You've got your motivation, and you've got your discipline. And I'm going to zoom this thing in right now. Bear with me here for a second. Bear with me on my beautiful mustachio. There we go. So I want to concentrate on this point here, where I've drawn this big black arrow. This is the point where vision and discipline intersect. And my face is going to be in and out of frame, and I'm just not going to worry about it. So this is the point where vision and discipline intersect. And I've just chosen this one here because it's the easiest to illustrate. So motivation has started high, it's dipped down, and then it's come back up, it's intersected with discipline, it's going to go high again, and then it's going to drop back down. And really what we want to focus on here, I'm going to pull out a little pen, is this section here. Oh, that's out of ink. Brilliant. There we go. Really what I want to focus on is this bit here. Any motivation that falls below our discipline line. So using these for performance benefit, we want to look at when the motivation is high, we're riding the wave of the motivation. We're riding it. It's going to intersect with the discipline line. And at that point, we have a choice to make, right? Do we keep riding the motivation low and hope that it comes up and then keep riding the wave? Or do we jump off the motivation track, and that is where our discipline catches us? This right here. And I'm going to erase this because this is getting really busy. So we've ridden the motivation line here. Developing discipline, incredibly important aspect to training. I think that's undisputable. But you need to think about this clinically, and we need to analyze it. Our goal should not be to replace our motivation with discipline. All right? Our goal should be to bring our discipline line as high as we possibly can. Like that. So then, when our motivation dips, it doesn't dip so far as it did before if our discipline line was down here. Right? So rather than our discipline catching our motivation down here, it's catching it up here. So then we have a much smoother, much more consistent flowing line of consistent training, right? Rather than having big peaks and valleys. I'm going to zoom this out. Hold on. So rather than having big peaks and valleys in our training where we're riding that motivation line, our discipline catches us. We ride the discipline line. If our motivation spikes again, we can ride that high and maybe put in a really solid week of training. If our motivation is quite high, maybe you did well in a race, maybe you had a good conversation with somebody or a good coach, maybe you're feeling really good, and you can put in a really solid week of training and you're highly motivated. And then maybe after that week you have a really rough workout, right? Maybe you fail at an interval that you got the week before. Maybe a whole number of things can happen, and it's very easy to let the motivation slip. And it's not let it slip. The motivation will naturally slip, and that is where the discipline line catches. That is the point. That is the decision point where we have to go. Okay, my motivation is low, but I have this vision. I have this dream. And our discipline line is going to catch us. Our discipline will catch us. We ride the discipline, right? We get it done. Whatever training there is, whatever job, we get it done. And when motivation picks back up, we can ride that motivation line, maybe get a few extra things done. Because no athlete is a robot. We are all human. We are all going to suffer from peaks and valleys in our motivation. But being able to separate and have the distinction between motivation and discipline and knowing where those come from is really important in the day-to-day, our day-to-day training, knowing that, hey, I'm not really motivated today, so this is where my discipline really needs to kick in. And then if we have a week where we're highly motivated, we say, okay, I can push a little bit. I can do a little bit extra. So that's about it. In summary, sort your vision out. Discipline comes from your vision once you've identified that and committed to trying to achieve that in life. Your motivation is going to fluctuate. Ride it when you can. Be disciplined when you can't be motivated. Bring your discipline line up as high as you possibly can. I think I just did a 10-minute video in about 30 seconds there. So if you got anything out of this, please consider subscribing and comment below if you think this is absolute rubbish. And I look forward to hearing from you. If you want to get in touch with me, all my contact info is on my website. I'll leave that in the description below. And yeah, thanks for watching. I think I'm getting better at these YouTube outros. It's not feeling quite as much like I'm selling out. So thanks for watching. Ride safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.